Here we're going to take a tour of the Marymount 3D Printing Lab. And the first thing you'll notice is our lab has a focus on enabling the future. A group of volunteers throughout the world, about 8,000 people all over the world that are using 3D printing to bring prosthetic hands to people in need. All of our printers are going to be PrinterBot Metal Simples, so definitely want to recognize PrinterBot as we go around the room and explore what we have here. The first thing we have are our 3D printers. So we have a printer, we have metal simple printers. These aren't particularly expensive. They're only about $600, and we have them hooked up to computers. And on these computers, students will come into the room and they'll see this kind of screen in front of them, and they load up whatever piece they want to print. Right here, we want to print a finger, so we can load a finger onto our printer. And we can do that at each of the 3 different stations. They all work exactly the same. So we come in here and we print our objects. Right now we have on here a cuff jig for an unlimited arm, and we can see all the pieces of the arm are sitting out awaiting assembly. What we do when we're finished with printing our pieces is my students will leave them way over here on the opposite side of the room. So you have a nice little area here for tons and tons of palms and gauntlets that we print out, awaiting the actual fingers and finger pins, the smaller pieces that my students are printing in their spare time. So we have all these pieces printed up on all these little Ziploc bags. And once we've finished a hand, we package it up and get it ready to be sent off. So we have all of our nice little plastic bags, all in various shapes of organization. What else do we have here? We have an assembly area. So we have actually a couple of legacy older designs that we can see, so we can get an idea of how Enable has grown throughout the years. And we have our materials that we need. We have our Velcro, we have our rubber bands. Anything you need to assemble a hand is going to be in this nice little cabinet. And we have our jigs. And our jigs are for thermoforming our gauntlets, because we like to thermoform here at Marymount. So we have a nice little station set up with a hairdryer, a box to put everything in when you're thermoforming, and the actual jigs and the thermoformable gauntlets. So maybe a student will come in, they'll start printing a part, they'll get bored, and they'll want to do something else as well while waiting for that part to finish. They can thermoform a gauntlet for us and get a nice little customized gauntlet. And then they can start actually assembling their hands, putting them together according to the instruction manuals that we have laying about. And then the newest development we have here is the electronics portion of the 3D printing lab. So we have a lot of tools that you'd find in any kind of electronics lab, I would imagine. We have a soldering iron and solder. We have our homemade helping hand. We've got power supplies, a variety of tools, a variety of breadboarding. And we set up our circuits on a breadboard before we actually test them out and solder them in place. And our newest piece that we've made is going to be this guy right here, this myoelectric sensor. So we have a small tiny little feather board from Arduino. This Arduino feather board connects to a MyoAware muscle sensor. You can attach this muscle sensor to anywhere on your body. You can see very small, it's about the size of maybe a couple of quarters. So these are very small electronics, and we can use that to read in muscle pulses from maybe your forearm. What we can do with those muscle pulses is tell them to move a servo. And this little servo will rotate when you actually flex your muscle. And then you can use that to attach to the strings on, say, maybe a Phoenix hand, and put all of these electronic components right there inside of the palm, so that you get a palm that opens and closes based on muscle motion. Flex your muscle and the hand will close. And you can see this is possible with the tiny, tiny size of these electronics. So let's say we have maybe a battery pack. It's about the size. It's going to be one of the larger components that we have to fit inside of here. And then we have a tiny little servo that we can fit right inside of the palm. And then finally, we have our whole computer chip that we can fit nicely right alongside the servo. And everything that we want will fit right inside of the palm. So we can have a very small footprint. And then you take your muscle sensor and just attach it somewhere further up on your forearm, and you can get a fully myoelectrically controlled prosthetic hand, all for the cost of about $100 or so. So that is the 3D printing lab here at Marymount University. Again, a big focus on enabling the future.